This is Brady Price giving a little interesting look at how things work here in the land of the free, home of the brave. Specifically Utah, because that is where I currently live. And it's a beautiful state. The problem is that we have a very misconstrued idea of what freedom is. And we believe that safety and security are more important than our freedoms. And that is why the state of Utah is now allowing seatbelt violations to be a primary offense, which means police officers can now pull you over for just not having a seatbelt on. Whereas before, if they pulled you over for another infraction and you didn't have your seatbelt on, then they could cite you. That would be a secondary. But now it's a primary, so just make sure that you watch out, because now the police are now responsible to make sure that you are buckling up. And from all the articles that are written that promote this wonderful idea to keep us all safe, of course, there's nothing but positives about this, it seems. But we fail to recognize the oppressive nature of these laws that are in our quote-unquote best interest. For instance, they quote figures like 33% raise in traffic accidents in the last 2 years. And well, people aren't wearing seatbelts. And I agree. I totally agree that we need to wear our seatbelts. I wear a seatbelt. It's the fact that now we have to force people to wear seatbelts or we will fine them. This is the issue that I have. Of course, they make no mention of, out of that 33% of increase in accidents, how many more people have moved to Utah in the last 2 years? How many of those accidents were due to texting or drunk driving? We don't hear anything about those statistics. We're so focused on making sure that we're wearing seatbelts when we get crushed by someone texting or drinking or whatever else have you. So we're not going to focus on the problem that occurs that causes the accident. We're going to instead focus on whether you have a seatbelt or not. And like I said, I think seatbelts are a great idea, but I'm a libertarian, and I'm proud of being a libertarian because I believe that people can make better decisions than government. For instance, in a voluntary society, let's say that I decide not to wear my seatbelt and I get in a car accident. Well, let's say that the insurance company finds out that I wasn't wearing a seatbelt and my insurance rates go up. That seems like a pretty easy way to take care of that problem. Now I'm motivated to wear my seatbelt because I know if I don't, my insurance rates are going to go up. It's literally that easy. The marketplace will always find solutions to these problems, but the state always loves to find these solutions first because, number one, they have this erroneous idea that they're the only ones that can come up with good ideas. Two is no one else can implement the ideas that they can implement as well as themselves. Three is it keeps them in power. It keeps us subservient to them. We are required to obey. If we were to use the principle of making sure that people aren't hurt or killed, which is what the seatbelt is there for, obviously, why don't we apply it to everything else? I'm sure if we looked statistically, alcohol, maybe even diabetes could be higher. I don't know. I haven't looked at the statistics. But I'm sure alcohol deaths are probably rated the highest in fatalities. How about cancer? What about diabetes, like I said? What about a lot of the other ailments that cause suffering? Should we force people to stop drinking corn syrup sodas or high-fat foods? Well, you might say it's ridiculous, but why not? Why don't we apply this principle to everything and allow the government to tell us what we should eat, what we should drink, what toilet we should use, right? The fact of the matter is, people, is that As much as we want to believe that we're free, we're not. Because it really comes down to this. No matter how benevolent and virtuous the government says that they are, the fact of the matter is that if I don't wear my seatbelt for whatever reason, or let's say someone in my car is not wearing their seatbelt, by the way, I'll be responsible for the person not wearing their seatbelt in my car. Even though they personally made a choice not to wear their seatbelt, if I'm driving, I get the ticket. So now I'm responsible for other people, not only myself, but everybody else. What really confuses me is the fact that this is never ending. These types of laws and mandates, they once they're opened, it's like Pandora's box. We need to have the courage as a people to tell the government that we can make decisions for ourselves and we don't need them to do it. I think it's about time that we really get honest with ourselves and admit that we don't live in a free country anymore. That the laws are corrupt, the judges are corrupt, and then the police are forced to have to enforce the laws. If they don't, they can be written up or fired. I don't really have too much more to say because I could go on and on about this issue. But I think it's time to get honest with ourselves. The government was never there to promise safety and security, ever. The only thing that they are there for is to provide us with unalienable, which is the term I like to use, not inalienable, but unalienable rights. You cannot put a lien on my rights. I do not need the government to give me rights. They already exist. They were given to me by God, and no one can deny them but myself. The government protects those rights. That's all they do. If someone infringes on my rights, the government is there to protect it. But that's not what's going on. What's going on now is that the government has their own idea of utopia, their own agenda, and we will be forced to abide by those rules, whether we like it or not, even though no victim has been made. There's no victim, there's no crime, but yet I still will have to suffer a fine. And if you think that it's not a big deal because it's just a fine, may I end with this. If I refuse to pay that fine because I tell the government, listen, I didn't do anything wrong, maybe my seatbelt's not working that day and I had to get to work. I don't know. Does it really matter? But I didn't wear my seatbelt, and so the officer is forced to give me a ticket. And then I don't pay that ticket. Let's say I don't have the money, but let's say I do. Does it really matter? And because I don't pay that ticket, then I get a warrant out for my arrest. So now I'm going to be arrested for something where there was no crime and no victim. Interesting. So now I have a warrant. So the police come, they find me, and they come to take me away, and I say, you know what? I'm not going to allow you to take me away because I have a family to feed and I've done nothing wrong. Of course, they're forced to take me away because there's a warrant. And I'm on the side of just saying, well, I'm just going to protect myself. Without me, my family won't survive. The police say, well, they're going to have to take me anyway. And I say, well, if you try to commit violence on me, I'm going to resist. What do you think they're going to say? If you resist me, we're going to kill you. So my options are, if I don't abide by the state's mandates, my options are paying a fine, which is the best scenario, going to prison or jail, or being killed. And if you actually believe that those things don't happen, you're living in a dream world. There are so many immoral, unethical, unconstitutional laws. And you are all, in honesty, if you were to read the whole penal code book, by the way, it's like probably 4 inches thick. And I love the people that always say, being ignorant is not an excuse. Like, I'm supposed to read, 2,000 pages of the penal code and abide by all those rules, which are impossible. So if you don't abide by the rules of the state, I guess you're the problem. That's the way the state looks at it. We need to start standing up for freedom, liberty, and our unalienable rights. The government does not provide those. They are to secure those. You got it? We need to stop looking past the real problem and start looking at the truth. And the truth is, in all honesty, is that we're a lost and fallen people. And I'm not saying it's something we can't recover from, but I'm saying that the true problem is we don't even understand what the government is doing. We just go along like sheep and allow them to oppress us for our own good. We need to stop. We need to go back to the principles of freedom and live those principles. That's all I've got to say. Other than that, I hope you don't get a ticket for not having your seatbelt. Peace out.